Got to give the people what they want. Welcome to another edition, Power to the People show. Welcome to Buffalo. Welcome to Buffalo and Atlanta. And all of you who are listening across the country, and those of you who will see the playback. Listen, we got a lot to talk about. Got a special guest that's going to be with us, the governor of the state of New York. But before we get to that, let me tell you about my week a little bit, just a little bit. So I took on a kind of second job. Well, I don't know, that might be my third or fourth job. So if you don't follow me on social media, on Darius G. Pridgen on Facebook, keep watching out for Living Life with Pastor D. I'm going to show you some video clips soon of my new adventure. Anybody who knows me knows I am the funeral pastor. I love doing funerals. I love doing funerals. I've explained this before very quickly because families, this is one of the most hurtful times in a family's life. And I enjoy helping them to move, start processing grief and start to move forward, right? So every service here at True Bethel is tailor-made for the deceased and for the family. And I have always, everybody knows me, always wanted to be involved in the funeral industry. I have always had jobs in the funeral industry. When I was a kid, I worked at Meadows Brothers Funeral Home. When I was in college, I worked at Mitchell and Fair Funeral Home in Salisbury, North Carolina. And then when I came back, at times I would help over at Brian K. And so Brian gave me the opportunity, and I always say my new boss, to work alongside him for a while, and I am just uber excited. So I had my first funeral, full funeral. You know, I've driven the limousine before. Like I enjoy the work. Mm-hmm. And so I had to drive a hearse. Now, I have driven a hearse before, but I never really had to drive a hearse. And so I got the hearse stuck in the snow because it was fresh snowfall on my first full day. I did get it out. I did get it out. They hadn't plowed yet around the area where the hearse was. But I was grateful. It's not like I'm like, oh, I'm giddy. Oh, it's fun. But it is rewarding. That's the word. It is rewarding.
I like that.
Yeah, when you can serve families when they are at a dark time and be kind to them. And, yeah, so it's definitely a ministry. And so that's how I started off this week. And being super orderly. You know, here's my dilemma. The more I have to do, the more orderly I am, because I got to have everything ready.
That makes sense.
Yeah. When I have less to do, I tend to be a procrastinator, kind of wait. You know, I am now, I'm ahead of the game. I have done things that I've been putting off for months because you just can't goof around when you got a lot to do. So I'm living my best life right now. I'm trying to live my best life no matter what the year is. You know, people are talking about, oh, my New Year's, I don't make New Year's resolutions at all. At the end of the day, whatever I'm going to change because it needs to be changed, not because the calendar changes, because I really don't care about a calendar change. So at the end of the day, thank you. At the end of the day, yeah, so I'm having fun. I'm enjoying.
I'm glad. And like you said, I know that's a big, that's a dream fulfilled
Yeah,
for you.
yeah.
And as you said, the joy you could see in your live, the joy you could even see in your face in the pictures. There's nothing like living out your dream.
It really is not. I've been blessed in my life. You know, every job that I felt I was called to do, I've been able to do it, whether it was being the council member or being the council president or being the pastor or whatever it is. But I take them all seriously and to heart, and work very hard. So I got a couple funerals coming up. I got one coming up. I won't say when and where, but I got another one coming up, and it's a lot of detail to this one. So I got to kind of, my boss said, well, she was going to go over and set up church. I was like, I'll set up the church. You just give me the directions. Then you can come over and you can switch it around later. That's all. So that's because I know what she's going to do. It's not going to be to her liking, and I'm okay with that. Like, it's so funny because I keep saying my boss is a member of the church. And so I know at our first, like, what do I call it? Like, I'm an employee. Just tell me what to do. B. Joanne Robinson Adams on Facebook says, Bishop, you did my nephews along Bishop Sanders. Thank you, 2004. You did great. Yeah, it's I enjoy it, and being in the business for a little while, I'm just living life and hopefully making other people's life better. What's up? How was your week, Mark?
My week was good, nice and relaxing. It's been cold, but it hasn't been snowing, so there's not a lot of work to do. But and there's only so much you can do when the ice and the freezing temperatures. But other than that, this is the first full week there was no school for me. So so now I'm just preparing for the bachelor run and
get the bachelor's degree.
And we'll make it work. And I was just super excited for the holidays and to get through them. But I'm really not a big Christmas person.
Yeah. I enjoy Thanksgiving more than I do Christmas.
Absolutely. Likewise, Thanksgiving is my favorite. So it's kind of like, let's just hurry up and get to January.
Yeah. I'm grateful for the season because of what it means in the Christian church.
Yes.
But because I got my house clean for Thanksgiving, I decided to throw another shindig at my house, which I'm not a real party person, so I only invite people over for 2 hours. So there's no sense you being late. I forgot even what time the party, other
Not
people
the
are
2
setting
hours.
it up. So I'm gonna have a lot of games, some food, and but the party is specific. If I have a party at 6, it's over at 8.
Oh, it got to be.
Yeah, I don't have like 3, 4, 5 hour parties. Everybody sit around. No, let's have fun in 2 hours.
Yes.
That's why our service is 1 hour.
Yeah.
1 hour. Come on, let's get Jesus. Let's get close to Jesus. Let's get delivered by the Holy Ghost and go home.
Anything longer than that, you're going to end up repeating.
You're
repeating the same jokes. You're repeating the same game.
Yeah.
After a while.
You come to one of my parties, let's just have some fun, and then go home. You go home full, and that's it.
Yeah, keep your laughter. Keep laughing on the way home. Take the memory with you.
All right, a lot going on. We got the governor is going to be with us in a little while. I promise you she'll be with us in just a little while. Let me tell you what's happening across the country. So in case you have not heard, and I just talked to a young lady on the phone, and I call her young. She keeps telling me she's elderly, and she was worried about, she kept saying that A1 stuff, the A1 stuff. And sweetheart of a lady, she listens to the show. Her family listens to the show. She called me for something, and she was afraid that this, and I said, A1, AI. She was like, yes, I don't know about it. I'm afraid I might lose my house because of this AI stuff. Let me tell you, if you have not heard it, and stay tuned for the governor because she's going to drop some first heard here knowledge. AI executive order, the Trump administration has now, Trump's AI executive order makes it harder for states to rein in abusive or discriminatory AI system. Basically, the president of the United States has signed one of his infamous orders that now says AI basically is under the federal government and that individual states will not be able to regulate AI. Now, I want you to understand why this is important because states in the United States have the right to regulate cannabis.
Yes.
We can. Some states regulate PORN. I don't know if I can say that.
Yes.
On the
Yep.
Some states regulate traffic. That I can go on and on and on. States regulate alcohol.
Yes.
So you go to some states, you can't buy alcohol on Sunday or at a certain time. But now the president of the United States, one of the biggest breakthroughs to come through in decades, which is AI, probably the biggest thing since the internet, He now says states, you can't regulate it. Largely, we will. Now, I don't understand how the president of the United States says, oh, we'll take our hands off of government. States, y'all can have government. I mean, not government, off of education. But AI, we're going to keep. Now, why is this important for African Americans especially? Because if there is no regulation on AI, I want you to remember AI is large databases of information that move rapidly and can spit out answers. So now, why does that matter? It matters because it can affect your job prospects. It could affect your communities. Let me give you an example. When you apply for a job right now, and this is why I say I shouldn't say be careful, but just understand that when you name your children certain things, in reality, when Bonaquita Renashia Jennings Smith Johnson applies, already in people's head, they've already said, "Oh, this is
one of them.
This is a black woman."
Yep.
The same way if your name is has a Muslim name, that's a Muslim, right? Not that you should change. If that's what you want to name your child. But listen what AI does. Many big employers now use AI to scan resumes.
Yes, they do.
And rank applicants.
And that is not a new technology. There for years, at least the last decade, most institutions, and some may have even your anchor institutions here in Western New York, just take all of the resumes, and the first 2 to 3 rounds of filtering is all computer based.
But it's further, Mark, than what it was. That was limited.
Right.
And that was limited to your system or even to something else. AI is at a whole nother level. This is not where your system is looking through and taking out education. AI has information on you that so you can't even get in the door. You can't even get in the door. Damone Smith sponsored legislation called Ban the Box.
Ban the Box.
Which I voted for. I think it was almost unanimous. At the end of the day, what he said was, take off of the interview, not off the interview, off the application, whether you've been arrested. At least let me get in the door first.
Right.
AI takes all of that away.
Yes.
You don't have to have Ban the Box now. I scan your resume, and if you got a ticket that you went to court for, and you're in a state that's public information, guess what? It's going to limit the chances of the people who need the chances the most.
Sure is. It sure is.
So if you don't think that this is important, that's why I'm here. I'm here to bring you this information. Also, AI surveillance and policing, especially in black neighborhoods, is reported that police departments are buying AI tools that predict high crime areas, scan faces from cameras, and monitor social media. Now, 6, 7.
Yeah, some of that's already going on.
And some of it, do you want to go on 6, 7?
Yeah.
If there's a potential, I wish that they could have used that for the top shooter.
Right.
Like he said everything. Where was the AI then?
And because we said we was going to keep people updated, so he was back in court, and the judge threw out the motion.
Bravo, bravo!
Because the motion was because I'm losing it. Basically, whatever it was, they were trying to say it wasn't premeditated, but they had documents that he told.
I'm sick of them. I'm sick of the top shooters' attorneys. Sit your tails down somewhere and just get him. Let's get this over with, because I don't know what you benefit from it, because the only one who's benefiting from it is the media, and that's it. That's it. Because other than that, this case is clean and shut. and we spending all this taxpayer dollar. Y'all want to holler about taxpayer dollars? Let's holler about taxpayer dollars to represent a white supremacist who came into an area to kill black people.
That's right. This week's motion that was dismissed was the whole claim that his jury wasn't a representative of.
Who do they want? Who should be on the jury? White supremacists? Should we go down into one of these rural places and find somebody that's got a Confederate flag outside and say, we want you on the jury? A jury of his peers? Yeah. Is that what they're looking for?
Wasn't representative of the community.
Man, it's too close to Sunday for me to cuss and then have to repent. I don't feel like having to repent this morning, this Good Friday afternoon. I don't want to repent for cussing. It's ridiculous. So, where was AI? But that's what's going to happen. Now, in some of these AI, and so I'm teaching y'all so that when your police communities decide we're going to use AI, you got to ask questions like this. Because some of the tools predict high crime areas. I ain't mad at that. Some of the tools, face recognition. I ain't totally mad about that. Studies show facial recognition misidentifies black people, especially black women, at higher rates, and some tools treat African American English or certain music and slang online as, quote, risk signals, feeding stereotypes in the police.
Well, you know what this just sounds back like we're going back to the days where Black Panthers were marked as terrorists and everything else. Like if now again, as a proponent of AI, I don't want, like you said, I don't want people to be scared of it because it's here and it's moving faster than I think we are prepared for it. But we can't lose the human element of some of this, because if you are going to police via AI, there is a lot of people going down just for walking the streets. And you already got certain communities scared when ICE comes down. Now we got to be worried about our cops using AI and body cams to start scanning crowds and everything else.
Anybody on the most wanted list, may as well, you need to ride in somebody's van in the back.
Yeah, this is crazy.
With no windows, because they going to get you. Now, like I said, 6'7", is some of that okay? If you're looking, so let's throw it on the other before we get to the governor. If you're looking for somebody who has hurt your loved one, would you want AI to be available to help find them?
I would say yes, but I don't want privacy and certain things interrupted, because so an undercover cop can then walk into a church with a hidden body camera on and start scanning the crowd. Like, I think there has to be a framework for how it's used, when it's used, because, and that's where. But
Mark, right there, hold on. There has to be a framework.
Right.
He is now taking that away from the states, because there's some states that's going to say we have a problem here. We need to regulate how we're using it. You are now putting it in the hands of a man who does not care about education. You are putting it in the hands of a man who says he is not for diversity, equity, inclusion. You are putting it in a hand of a man who tears down a portion of the White House. You are putting it in a hand of a man who does not give a dang on, and Shuki said I could cuss and repent, but I don't want to get knocked off the air, so I'm trying to be good. You putting it in, you just said regulation. Yeah. Who's going to regulate it? The people who bomb ships, the people who, are they regulating it? Are they regulating it? The one who, talking about they're going to put the Venezuelan, and I ain't saying that's a bad thing, but I'm just saying, is that who you want to regulate it?
I have no idea, and I don't know, because this country, like, the framework of this country is built on the federal government is there to institute financial, foreign affairs, and things like that. The fact that they think the states are going to be okay with this and just be like, oh, well, you can do it. You can do that. Like, this ain't the right to bear arms. We're not talking about the Bill of Rights. AI was not in the Bill of Rights.
Amen.
So, if the federal government wants to give a high level framework of protection for use of AI, I'm cool with that. But there might be certain states and locales that say, that's cool, we want to go a little farther.
Exactly. Listen, I got one person, B. Joanne Robinson, it just stopped in the parking lot at Home Depot to listen to the show. Shugi says he is the most dysregulated individual ever. How will he regulate? Hey, by the way, those of you in the Atlanta area, you can watch us live at Power to the People Show or any area. So you on Facebook and on YouTube. Let me get a couple more. Renee Benning says, where was AI when he was letting people know what he was planning? Amen. Kamal says, we should be reminded of how he chose to present himself with body armor, fully armor. Yep, amen. I agree with you. Renee says, teach. Kamal says, less than neutral programming produces less than neutral results. Yep, so this is happening.
And I know you said you isolate two of our audiences, those watching on Instagram and TikTok.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, TikTok. Go ahead and heart, like, and share us so we can get our followers up as well.
Heart, like, and share us. Heart, like, and share us. Finally, on this AI stuff, and then we're going to talk about, we're going to talk a little bit about what we're going to talk to the governor about. Data centers and AI infrastructures are starting to affect some of the black communities where they're trying to put these massive data centers that are causing pollution near black neighborhoods because we protest the less on stuff that matters. We protest the less. So at the end of the day, if the federal government is regulating it, we won't even have a voice in many places to say we don't want these data centers in our areas because it'll be the federal government. You won't be able to run to Albany. You won't be able to call Crystal People Stokes or anybody else. You're going to have to call Schumer and all those folks to say, hey, don't forget this side of town.
Right.
So, listen, do you want to pay the bills and then we talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about with the governor?
Sure, we can do that.
Let's pay all of the bills right now. Brian K. Lewis, okay, so let me just say this so you don't think that I'm being, because, I'm employed now. I got a little part-time gig with Brian K. Lewis, but he's been sponsoring this show for more than 15 years and every other endeavor, including Hobson's, the Dr. Dry Cleaning, who is the longest sponsor of Power to the People. If you're in the Atlanta area, you want to be a sponsor. If you're in the Buffalo area, give us a call. We'll be right back.
When it comes to something as personal as your clothes, you need to deal with somebody you can trust. That's why so many people turn to Hobson's Dry Cleaning, conveniently located in the heart of the community at 874 East Delavan at the corner of Wyoming.
When you take your clothes to Hobson's, you can trust that they'll be ready on time.
You can trust that your whites will be white.
You can trust that you'll always get a fair price and service with a smile.
You can even trust that you won't have to get out of your car if you don't want to. Hobson's has a drive-through window for your convenience.
Trust is what it's all about at Hobson's Dry Cleaning.
Hobson's Dry Cleaning, your one-stop dry cleaners serving the community for over 30 years at 874 East Delavan at the corner of Wyoming. Call 891-8298. That's 891-8298.
Brian K. Lewis Funeral Home has 3 locations to serve you in Buffalo. 347 Peckham, 2258 Bailey Avenue, and Providence Memorial Chapel at 1275 Sycamore. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes offers traditional services, and they have services for all faiths. And at Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes, they have air-conditioned parlors and chapels. Financing is available, as is limousine service. At those difficult moments in your life, Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes is available where you are with counseling services. Call toll-free 877-885-7734. That's 877-885-7734. Or locally 845-5545. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes. We are here to serve you, here to serve this present age. Call today, toll-free 877-885-7734. Or email info@brianklewisfuneralhome.com.
Wow, Indiana's GOP senators reject Trump's pressure to redistrict. His ratings are going way down.
Way down.
Like, even among his own party.
Yeah. Everybody's coming out now saying, like, you might not be as strong as you were.
I'm not going to spend the whole show on him, but like I said, there's some things I kind of get with him on, but most of it I don't. Wait a minute. Did I? Yeah. So this is I just saw on social media about a strip club or something on Jefferson, possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is the first. I just happened to look over here and saw somebody talking about that.
Yeah.
I got to find out more about it.
Yeah, I guess there was one trying to open diagonal from the Tops, which we referenced, and there's a lot of community outrage because it didn't. I don't believe it went through the proper city channels. It's currently, the building is not zoned for adult entertainment. There's only 2 categories in the city green code that allows for adult entertainment, and nothing on Jefferson is zoned that way. So, I know people want to be like, we can't have nothing on Jefferson, and well, there's certain processes you have to go through in order to open any business in any part of town. So, and for something like that, I think there has to be some community involvement and engagement.
You think?
Before you just open up.
coming out buying potatoes, and you look across the street and oh wow! So I just saw that on social media. Got to do some more research into that. Listen, in a few minutes we're going to show you an interview with Governor Kathy Hochul. It just happened minutes ago. Because of her schedule, we recorded it, but it is recorded today, just a few minutes ago, right here in my office. And in this interview, we're going to attack some things as far as school, the ban on school phones, on cell phones in school. Talk a little bit about the federal government. And she is going to address a veto that she just a bill that she just vetoed that would basically allow families to sue for lost compensation, basically from family members, for instance, that were murdered or I got it over here, but I can't explain it. She'll explain it in the interview. There's been some strong concern about that veto, both locally and across the state. And here on this show, she explains her reasoning for the veto and something very interesting that she says about it. But before we go to the interview, I think we talked about the cell phone ban, and I was pretty clear where I felt. This was before she even that I knew she was proposing it. Is that I think children need to be in school to learn, and at the end of the day, I think that they should have access in emergencies. But she's going to talk about what some of the research and experts say about cell phones during emergency. I know. Once cell phones were out, when the kids got older, they did have them, but I definitely wasn't a proponent of them being able to use it in the classroom.
Agreed.
Because the biggest thing our children need is education.
Absolutely.
And we have enough distractions. And let's be honest, some of them were on the phones and planning fights, and a lot of the fights, according to some of the resource officers at the schools, were planned during school while they're on their cell phones. And you know that as adults, you know how to hide a cell phone.
Oh, absolutely.
I was in I was in a location the other day. While I was in a waiting, I was text messaging.
Absolutely.
Catching up on emails.
Absolutely.
You think kids don't do the same thing? Now, they don't email probably, but they message.
Definitely message on multiple platforms and multiple apps and everything else.
Everything else, and games, and so we need our children paying attention.
And now they record TikTok dances in school. Trust me, I see it all the time.
It's there. I mean, half the kids who come to church now, they come with their tablet. They ain't paying no attention.
No.
They got on headphones.
Sure do.
Like, at least I'm here. I'm grateful that they're there. But on one of these months, so I got a series coming up. I think it's something like, I don't care what you all do, but as for me in my house. And then I have felt as inspiration to spend a month talking about social media. I want to spend a month talking about social media, having a little social media fast, so many hours, not being on so much. But really being able to marry the topic of social media, ministry, and mess. Shucks, let me write that
I was
down.
going to say that.
Social media ministry. I guess I got time to write it down. And mess. So yeah, I'm not against our children being focused
Absolutely.
on education. And I know parents are out there. I'm going to send my kids to school with their phone anyway. Go ahead. Go ahead. Because obviously you know more than the educators and the people who are trying to educate your children. And at the end of the day, if it works for you, mama, if it works for you, papa, do what you're going to do. But if that child gets in trouble, and one thing she did say, I won't tell the whole interview, is that she was against children being suspended if they get caught with it. That's a biggie. And I'm glad she said that. So we got her coming up and also talking about her office of faith-based and a not-for-profit, which is not just an office, but a whole board of people from across the state, and she's going to be talking about that. So, listen, we're going to go. Are we ready? Are we ready to go?
Yep.
You are about to be brought into an interview that happened just moments before we signed on the air with the governor of the state of New York. Let's play it. Got to give the people what they want. Thank you for tuning into another edition, Power to the People. Listen, I know that you have tuned in, and it's not for me because all last night we pushed out information that we have a special guest today. I want you to call a friend. I want you to do whatever you got to do, click, tag, like, because I, in just a few minutes, have one of an esteemed guest in the studio. And I'll be honest, I thought we were doing a Zoom call, and I got to work this morning, and I'm just so glad that I got here on time and that the streets were shoveled. Thank you, City of Buffalo, so that I could get here and that I could get here in time to interview one of the most powerful people in the United States of America, because she is the governor of the state, the great state. And those of you who are in Atlanta, Georgia, our Atlanta audience, you need to hear this woman, this governor, the Honorable Kathy Hochul. Thank you so much for being in studio today as we're doing massive construction here. So there's dust all around, and you took the time to come in and be with us. Thank you for being with us.
Bishop Pridgen, we've been friends for decades. And
yes.
This is my home. Every once in a while I get a chance to come home and sleep in my own bed and come over to a place that when I'm in town, I worship with you here
you do.
at True Bethel. And it's a place I feel that my soul is recharged and I can go out into the battles fortified with God behind me. So I thank you for being my spiritual leader for so many years.
Well, I appreciate you, and I appreciate what you're doing in the state of New York, and you're not just talking about it. Your office is one of the first offices that I know of, and I'm not saying it wasn't before, that created. You actually have an office of faith-based and not-for-profit in which you are listening to what the faith-based community needs and not-for-profits. What inspired you to want to open that office? Because I think it's very important.
No, because I knew the importance of faith in people's lives. I grew up as a social justice Catholic not far from here in Lackawanna and Hamburg. And my parents started out very humbly, but they always listened to the teachings of Jesus Christ as sort of our guideposts on why I'm really in politics today, is to help other people who are less fortunate. I mean, that is what we're called to do every single day. So I knew that I could do better if I could literally have a vehicle to bring in the voices of those who are the trusted leaders in communities. And that is my clergy all over the state of New York. And so I call upon them, I rely on them, and to tell me what is going on, but also they can also share programs that the communities may not otherwise know about, money they can take advantage of, or child tax credits, or money for nutrition programs, or all the days we can nourish not just the soul, but also the body. And so I think it's been phenomenal, and also encouraging these faith leaders to continue what they do, but even to build senior housing and supportive housing, and how we can help them get the resources they need. Or when we need to get shots out, or flu shots out, or COVID shots to people. I mean, this is where we go. So it was a natural place for me to lean into, and I've I'm very happy with it because these are people that I trust and rely on, just like millions of New Yorkers do as well.
Well, and I've been pastoring 31 years, so I've seen people go in the state and seen them come, seen them go. And at times they talk that talk. This is a real office. I've sat at the table. But what I am very impressed about, it's not just the Christian ministers. There are Muslims there. There are Jewish brothers and sisters are there. And I can remember in some conversations that were tough conversations because this is not a rubber stamp board. We actually sit down and discuss the issues. And that sensitivity, especially when it's worldwide conflict, of us being at the table together has impressed me. Has that helped you in your decision making that team is together?
Yes, it has. I mean, we've been through a lot, and particularly, throughout the state, but in New York City, there's been a rise in anti-Semitism. Well, that has been condemned by all faith leaders. As you mentioned, you mentioned Muslim and Christian. I mean, for them to stand behind the Jewish brothers and sisters who are often being threatened because of who they worship and how they worship. I mean, that's wrong because my view is an attack on one is an attack on all.
Yes,
and that is the strength of this coalition of clergy throughout the state of New York. They all feel that support from each other in these meetings as well, and they take that back to their congregations and say, we are not alone.
Exactly.
We don't tolerate hate in the state of New York, and every faith needs to know that.
Well, I think it was encouraging to be in some of those rooms and to come back and make sure that my language and the language of my colleagues really help to keep the peace and not encourage more infighting.
That's right.
Let's go to education,
okay,
because I know you made some huge decisions in education, sometimes controversial. How are the decisions, and what are some of the decisions you're proud of making in education lately that has affected our school children?
Well, this comes to me easily because I'm New York State's first mom governor.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And I even have 2 little grandkids too on top of it. So I've been around a long time, and I see the struggles of families, and I know how hard it is. Even something like nutrition programs in schools. I mean, I know that there are kids who skip lunch because their parents can't afford to pay for it, and they have a meal card that shows that they're getting subsidized meals, but the stigma associated with that singles them out and sets them apart from the other kids in the school line, that is something carried with them for the rest of their lives. Mm-hmm. And so I said, you know what? I want to provide free breakfast and lunch meals to every school child in the state of New York, not single out the haves and have-nots.
So that's every school.
Every school, every child. And what is happening is, whether or not it's something that you're saving now $1,500, $1,600 a year in the cost of per child food, or the time it gives parents. I mean, I remember being a harried mom, and am I out of milk for the Cheerios, and do I still have peanut butter? I got to pack the lunch. And one father came up to me on the street. He says, "Governor, you just gave me an hour back in my day when I don't have to worry about the breakfast and lunches of my kids here." And also, they're getting nutrition. I don't want any little kids' tummy growling while they're supposed to be learning, because it's a distraction, even for adults. So that's one thing I'm really proud of. I'm here in Western New York to showcase that and talk about how we've now, since September, we've given out 150 million free meals to school children in the state of New York just in the last few months. But something else that started in September, and this will hopefully be part of my legacy, because I'm proud that I was one of the very first governors in this country who stood up and said, no more cell phones in schools.
Wow! Now
more cell phones in schools. Okay, this was a battle royale. I took on a lot of interest.
Yeah. And I am we've talked about it on this show even before this came up on the state, because I taught school. I taught Spanish in Buffalo Public Schools, and we didn't have, back then there were no cell phones, but there were other distractions. And so, as a parent who would not allow, my children always, when they got of age, took a cell phone to school, but they weren't allowed to take it in class, and that was for emergencies if they're on the bus. And I heard parents who are upset about it. And oddly enough, when we kind of did an unscientific survey on this show, the majority of people who either called in or wrote in were saying, that they felt it was distraction. How has it worked? What are you hearing?
Well, again, nobody wanted to do this, including our state education department.
Wow.
And people want to be if a school district wanted to do it, you can.
Yeah.
But don't tell us. But I realized they didn't have the ability. They didn't have the political courage because they'd have to go up against the parents and the school boards and all these other conflicts. So I understand that. I said, I went around the state for a year and a half. I convened roundtables with very troubled teenagers who were suffering from bullying and abuse throughout the day. They're not focused on learning, or if they're playing and watching TikTok dance videos instead of paying attention to the math teacher. So they weren't learning. Also, it's stress on them, anxiety inducing. And I said, one girl, I said, why don't you just put it down? And she says, Governor, you have to save us from ourselves. We cannot be the ones to do this. And when some child tells me,
this was a student
in high school, and I said, I looked at her, I said, I'm going to take care of you, sweetheart. I'm going to have a statewide ban on this. And overcoming opposition, we launched it in September. We had a lot of information over the last year talking about getting people ready for this, and every school has to have a disciplinary process. No kid should be expelled because of this. Take away the phone.
Amen. That's right.
We're not going to keep the kids out of school. Help the parents understand. A lot of parents, they're the ones who wanted to keep this long umbilical cord attached to their kids, right? Because seriously, one kindergarten teacher, first grade teacher, she said every child in her class had a smartwatch on. So we got rid of all distractions, the smartwatches. And the parents were sending messages all day. I miss you, sweetie. How are you doing today? And, it takes that kid back to wanting to be back with their mommy again. And they're not focused, and they're not becoming independent, which is really the job of parents, is to not raise kids, but to raise adults. They're going to leave at some point. And
so this wasn't a decision made in a vacuum.
No,
because you talk about going around the state before you did it, hearing from students, hearing from parents, and so there's all this opinion. And was the majority of opinion that you were hearing is we need to ban the cell phones?
From this. Yes, from teachers in particular, because there had been a national survey of teachers where 75% said they would not be able to teach anymore. They were not making connections with their kids. I sat with teachers. They said, we used to get joy out of our jobs. We'd make eye contact with the kids.
Absolutely.
We had a personal relationship. By the end of the year, we felt they were our friends. We loved these children. And here they're not even looking at the teacher the whole year. They're staring at their cell phone. And even during lunches and breaks and gym class, that's when the kids should be laughing and making friendships.
Absolutely.
Those places were silent. I walked into a cafeteria and it was silent. That was not natural, because kids sitting across from each other are not talking. They're talking to someone else or reading some video or something. So I'm telling you, the survey results came out last week. We got results back from 350 schools in the state of New York that all had to start this in September. 93% said the transition was not as bad as they thought it would be.
Wow.
Okay, there we go. 83% said there's a more positive learning environment, that the whole atmosphere is more positive. And 76% of the teachers said more learning is occurring.
That's terrific.
So that's just in a few months. And a lot of parents, people come up to me all the time and talk about this. And young people are kind of begrudging, saying, yeah, it's kind of cool to have friends in person now. Like some people had never had a friend in person. And it's fun.
This is unbelievable.
No, the kids are, what they're doing? They're bringing board games to recess now.
I haven't seen a board game and I don't know when.
They're playing cards. They're playing cards. They're bringing, some schools they're kind of in this old school technology. They're bringing Polaroid cameras if you want to take a picture, a snapshot during recess or gym with your friends, because the kids miss taking a picture of their friends on their cell phone, right? So we're going back to old school fun, letting them be kids again.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, their mental health is going to be so much healthier. They're going to be healthier kids. And when they get into the workplace, they're going to know how to have eye contact, talk to people.
Because these are the skills that schools, you still have to teach without putting it in the classroom as far as on the board. A lot of the social skills are learned at that age. I always talk about some of my closest friends. We grew up in church or we were in school together, but there was that contact. One of the things we said on this show, Governor, even as this legislation rolled out, when some parents were saying, I'm going to send my child to school with it anyway. And I said on this show. If you send your child to school and have them break a rule, you ought to be the one that has to suffer the consequences and not the child. So I'm glad to hear that part is
One
working
last
out.
thing.
Sure.
And
yes,
I'm a
ma'am.
parent, and my kids were middle school when Columbine occurred. And the worst fear you could ever have is that something happens to your baby, your child, when they're in a school setting, a mass shooting, for example. What I learned, and I had to tell parents this, law enforcement told me the worst thing that your child can have in their possession if there is a shooter in the building or in the classroom is a cell phone. If it goes off, they will know exactly where your child is if they're hiding in a closet. If your child is videoing or they're sending out wrong information about the location of something, or they're texting their mom and not paying attention, the one person their eyes should be on in that crisis is the highly trained teacher in the front of that classroom. And I had sheriffs and district attorneys and police chiefs go around the state with me and tell the parents, this is why it's safer for your kids not to have a cell phone. If your worst case, your nightmare, if that unfolds, you don't want your kid to be texting you.
That's powerful.
So when I learned that, it helped me feel better as a mom, and then I knew I could tell other parents the same story.
Well, and I'll say this, we'll go to our last topic. I saw a law enforcement officer on social media the other day who works in the schools say, I told you this was going to work. And he was referring to that because he in the past talked about how many fights began in the school on cell phones while children need to be instructed. So education is one of the most important things that we can give our children. So hats off to those who made that decision, and to you, and going against even some people who are around you to say this is the right thing to do.
Thank you.
We can't close the show without talking about the Grieving Families Act. And I know that this is dear to your heart. And from what I have read in your veto message and in editorials, is that this is something that you want to happen, yet vetoed. Can you explain, and if you just talk a little bit about the Grieving Families Act,
of course.
and then why the veto?
This basically opens up a whole new class of people who can recover damages in a courtroom if something happens to them. If there's, the way it's written right now, if there's, someone dies in surgery in a hospital and it's a child or an older person, usually they base the recovery on how much income that person earns or their values. So, there'll still be court cases, there'll still be litigation, but there's an effort by the trial lawyers basically to expand this, and it gives them more opportunities to represent more people. And I understand that this is their livelihood, but also it does have an effect on every single person in our state because it'll raise insurance premiums. The insurance companies are looking at this closely, and their costs of coverage for hospitals like ECMC, critical place here in the city of New York, their insurance premiums will go up dramatically to cover the additional costs of these malpractice lawsuits. Every business, every family, every government will have to pay more in insurance premiums. My concern is the system-wide, statewide impact of increasing those costs when insurance is one of the big drivers of costs in the state right now. Now, that being said, when you take a case like what happened to the families, the victims of the 10 people massacred at Tops here in 2022, this is something that still rips my heart apart when I think about what happened that day. We were together.
Yep, we were.
I came immediately, and I stayed, and I stayed, and I stayed, and I tried to do whatever I can to comfort families, hug them, love them, tell them they're not alone. But I cannot imagine the searing pain that they were going through. So I kept coming back. I said, what do you need? I put $50 million out there to help support families and help them recover and rebuild the community and give them faith that, the story of their lives will not be lost. We have a memorial being built with state support. So I care deeply about these families. What I wanted was the trial lawyers over the last few years to come back to me and say, we'll accept the compromise. I would have supported a plan that would recover damages for these families. When there is a mass shooting, I believe that the family should be able to recover from the manufacturer, whoever they want to go after.
Absolutely.
Even if it's an older person who may not have a job where you can say, well, they're worth $100,000 a year. That should not be the judge of someone's life, and I believe that to my core.
I'm really glad to hear you say that, because so many people haven't heard you say it, but to say this is something you support, but you want some changes to protect people in the long haul. That's so important. I'm sorry.
And it is. It's frustrating to me that my values and my beliefs are being mischaracterized as not caring about these people. That is not who I am, Bishop. You know me. And I've asked for compromises, send over other language, work with us. Every single year we initiate this. And they keep passing the same very broad language that'll hurt my safety net hospitals and hurt my doctors' practices and hurt our nursing homes with escalating insurance costs. I want to carve out an area that would help people that are truly the victims of accident. Your child drowns in a backyard pool. That child's life, they don't earn income yet, but that is a value to that family. It's an emotional attachment to that child, and they should have been there.
So under that, if you go ahead,
I would. Let's start off without the medical malpractice cases because there already are recoveries for those.
Okay.
Okay.
And let's when we look at TOPS, and for those in our Atlanta audience, it was a mass shooting by a white supremacist who came in to specifically kill black people. You're not talking about incidents like that. You're talking about malpractice, pulling out the malpractice portion first. And I'll be honest, probably the average listener doesn't understand it, and I didn't totally understand it. I've talked to my colleagues, I've talked to people here in the city who want to see this pass. I'm hearing from you, and I don't want to mischaracterize what you're saying, is you're still willing to work on this. You just need some parts carved out to protect people.
To protect...
Or the economics
to
of
protect the economics of the whole state, but also the healthcare industry is struggling. And if doctors start leaving here because they already have the highest malpractice premiums and additional costs of doing business in New York, why won't they go to another state then? They'll just say, I can't afford it anymore. I cannot have babies on the east side of Buffalo not being delivered because the OBGYN, which have the highest rates, would leave the state. And they've told me they will. I've listened to doctors and hospitals and nursing home owners as well as the businesses. I have to look out for the entire state's health as well. So why won't they come and meet me halfway? Why won't they offer a compromise? Why won't they be rational instead of an all or nothing approach, which I've had to deal with for 4 years? We asked for some accommodation. Can you please get it started? Bishop, I'm frustrated because I would have liked nothing more than to help these families. And the trial lawyers are the barriers right now. And they should come to the table and meet me as the governor and get this right for the next session.
So the next session is coming up in a few weeks, right?
Yes, it is.
Everybody will be back in Albany. Is it possible to work together in this session, or is that too late for this session?
No, I have to decide on bills that are passed by June, by the end of this year.
Got it.
And we already sent out them. I asked for them to compromise. They sent over one-word text and made a slight change. It's like, you're not being serious. We've tried to negotiate for 4 years.
But if there was a compromise, it could happen as soon as June?
It could be introduced in January.
Go through the process.
Go through the process. It lands on my desk, in June, usually by then. And then we can look at it again.
You're educating a lot of people right now, and I'm grateful for you being transparent. And I want to say this because a lot of people don't understand in media, that there are some people who I interview and that I don't interview because they go, I'm not going to talk about this and I'm not going to talk about that. You gave no restrictions, and you said ask whatever, and that you would be transparent, and you have been. I want to talk about the doctors, and I know our time is up. I know people who work in healthcare here. And right now with Washington, D.C. and what they're doing, there are doctors stuck right now in Canada who who either cannot or have decided not to come back over because of some of the laws. Are you hearing that, or is that just from the hospitals?
No, it's been an enormous disruption. What Donald Trump has done in Washington, crippling the healthcare industry by, first of all, people's health care premiums, the ones who got Obamacare support to help cover the cost of premiums starting in January, they can go up $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a year for a family that's already struggling. If you are on Medicaid, they're eliminating huge categories of people who rely on Medicaid for themselves and their families. There is a depth of cruelty behind that, which is never thought I'd see this in my lifetime, that people are so callous about other people's lives. And I was in Congress, and I lost my seat in Congress because I supported the Affordable Care Act, because even
Sure did.
in my Republican district, and you know it well,
Yep.
I came here when I lost that. Because
You did.
And you gave me comfort and helped me work through that. But I did what I had to do for the people the rural poor who needed this, and they voted against me because they were convinced they didn't. So this is personal to me, but the doctors from Canada are feeling this is a hostile country to them now. I mean, Donald Trump literally declared war on Canada, and it's not just the high tariffs.
On Canada.
I mean, they're like they're our best friends.
Exactly.
And so, they come and go to the Bills games, the Sabres games, the baseball games. They
I have them
walk
in my
out there.
church. I have people who come over the bridge
yeah.
every single Sunday and on Bible study from Canada.
Yeah, and they're our neighbors and our friends, and this has been an act of hostility that was so unnecessary. So I think there are doctors and others, students are not coming here. We're losing a lot of students, and so I hope we can reset this country. I love this country deeply, and I'm going to keep staying in the fight. I mean, I'm in the arena. I'm a fighter in the arena, and I tell everybody in New York City in particular. I said this yesterday. I said, I'm a fighter because I'm from the streets of Buffalo. Don't mess with me. Right?
Don't mess with Rough Pup. Governor, any final words that you want to share with our audience in this holiday season?
Keep the faith, everyone. Keep the faith. God is looking out for all of us. And during this time, remember that God calls us to do something else. Think about others. Take care of those who need extra help, and you do this here, Reverend Bishop Pridgen.
You know, I don't care about any title. I'm just D from the project.
Yeah. And I remember hearing a sermon, like if you have, even people that are struggling, if you have two coats, somebody else could use the other one.
Yeah.
And that hit me hard. I mean, that's how I was raised, and I will carry that with me the rest of my life. Those lessons, deeped in morality and the Bible and what Jesus Christ calls us to do. I try to live that every day. So during this holiday season, I want people to just, rekindle their relationship with their family members. Hug your kids and your loved ones, and because you never know what happens. I mean, life is very uncertain. It's a gift, but it can be taken away.
Listen, folks, I want to thank the governor of the great state of New York for being with us, answering all of the questions, and for really leading what I feel, besides you in Georgia, Buffalo and New York State and Georgia and all, you have done the job that many people asked you to do, even in the tough things. Governor Kathy Hochul, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Go Bills.
Go Bills. We'll be right back. Well, you saw it right here. That just happened a few minutes right before we went to air. The governor was here and answered the questions. And I know that one of the toughest questions, and some of my friends who, especially in the legal community, were upset about, was about that legislation. It's the first time that I'm hearing that the governor is willing and open to continue to work on that legislation. I think this is the time now that if she's saying, hey, listen, it's the only part I'm asking, or, it to be pulled out is about the malpractice stuff, so that our insurance rates, and of course, folks, let me tell you why, I just threw it in the garbage. Why that's important is because, again, Washington has failed to extend the extension
for the subsidies.
For the Subsidies for Affordable Care Act and other extensions, which means insurance is already, for many families, about to go out of the roof. Try to bring you to education here. They are, and here's the bad part. So for those Democrats who voted for that budget without getting this done, now the same people said that they would talk about it. Several bills have been presented. And they're not voting for it. So that, again, they promised, that's all they promised to do, was to talk about it, to fix it, to come to some agreement. So our insurance bills are already off the chain for many people. And many of those people are African Americans and poor and struggling people, and the middle class. And so at the end of the day, where some people are paying $800, they're going to be paying $1,600 for health care. This should be a universal right. Yes, we're feeding children on the state level, but on the federal level, they haven't passed it. So it is. I'm glad to hear her say, I'm still willing to work on this. And so for those who are out there, I wanted her on the show. This was not planned around that, by the way.
No, it wasn't.
Mark had already put this on the schedule. I'm just glad that I always say the timing of God is impeccable because, it's 1 o'clock. Hey, listen, we'll see you next week. Until next week, power to the people. Shucks.